Muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, thank you to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everybody shares with me. From the heart, I appreciate you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype the video. Thank you. And getting right into what I want to touch on today. Somebody sent me a link for the reaction channel to do a reaction on a video that got put out on Bert from La Puente. And first off, my apologies. I am not gonna react to that channel that put it out. And it has nothing to do with the individual or the channel. It's just I'm not right because I did listen through the whole video and it went off of something that's there right with made up names and it just you know, again, I'm not going to say nothing. There's just certain channels I won't react to. I apologize. I'm reacting to the video, I know. But, by staying away, I show my respects. I understand many people got family and they're doing their thing, but I'd rather just, keep in my walk. But, anyways, I want to touch on Bert, right? From La Puente, the Pili that was on death row for many years and currently was on the news because I guess his case could have gotten overturned, right? But this has nothing to do with his case. It's basically recently, since they got out of the death row, excuse me, he's been falling apart, right, due to age. And that's a common, knowledge. It's been happening for years, for many years. But, anyways, up on death row, there's a camarada, not Swifty. Like they tend to throw that name in the mix, right? But the homie Spike from La Puente, he's uh he's the representative, right? He's more than what we would call a secretario or a sobrino or what, trusted camarada. He basically makes decisions and runs everything for Bert. Again, just his age, But he was in death row, so he was in the position that he was well liked by the brothers from San Diego. So you know he was permitted to get out there and gain some things, right? Gain feria for himself or whatever. The only thing I agree is that La Puente is big. It's a big neighborhood. So, without touching on the camaradas and the wiggles on the streets, there's a lot of different angles they're touching. If you guys get what I'm trying to say. And it ain't just Bird. It wasn't just Cisco. There's many, you know. La Puente, you could say, is different when it comes to loyalty. I don't want to say it like that, but basically, it's just too big. Like everyone knows. For example, Bassett, that's Terco. You know, and you have other neighborhoods in SGV that have a Pili and they're well set with a Pili, right? But getting right into what the topic was, right, to react to, which is his memory loss. Yes, he's going through a memory loss that he seems to forget certain things. And, even though I don't like to really focus on camaradas, the facts are that there is snakes. At the end of the day, it's game banging or, gang wiggling, you know, There's camaradas that love that negra just like the pilis do, right? And then they got the history or the antiquity of how to work, how to do things, right? So they take advantage. It's just straight up facts, you know. I'll give you a quick example. When we were in Ironwood, there was 4 yards. All of them were active, right? Two, three, two, 4 yards. A and B yard, they were ran by two different pilis, right? C and D, two other different pilis. So, you know, it goes with what I say. You know, you could be an A yard and get moved to B yard, and, you know, whatever you did to get to B yard don't matter. You know, you're going to run a program. But, you know, I was an A yard, right, for Terco. Silent from King Cobras, he was on B yard. That fool was a straight tecato. There was numerous of times that the camaradas, paisanos, they got rushed by different races, and due to Dope being on the way in, because he was a tecato, he'd rather chuck it up as a loss and allow nothing to happen, right? So it happened numerous of times, and he just sat on, no, I got Dope coming in. We cannot act on it till he got removed, right? But anyways, is what I mean about camaradas is just the same thing, right? And unfortunately, Spike is one of them individuals. I never met Spike personally. The funny part is, when I was in the Bay, Billy's already knew this about Homeboy. You know, they knew about Bird and his way of thought, because there was other Billy's up there that will put it out there, right? You could tell Bird something this day, and he won't know nothing in 2 days or won't recall it. Or you can make him fall in line in 2 days by saying he agreed with something when it was never discussed with him. Again, it's just old age, right? And anyways, the main thing on this is that Spike's name got brought up in Pelican Bay for the casitas that Bert was in charge of, you know, and basically there was a lot more coming in than was reported. That it was a known fact. Or, you know, Spike was from a different clica per se in La Puente, and Bird was in charge of a different area, right? So Spike wanted to have his name out there in his clica. It goes with what everyone as a camarada wants, right? Which is your name circling around in your neighborhood, in your clica. You know, in my case, it's my neighborhood because it's not as big as Las Puente, nowhere near, right? So, anyways, what he would do is start taxing camaradas, put him in the hat from them casitas in his, you could say, rivals, you know, area, his clica, or he would start knocking them down in casitas. It's typical, you know. If I could say here and tell you how many times, I'm not gonna say I was involved, but I was in the crossings of them conversation of a pili, knocking down another pili's casita, setting them down, hog tying them, whatever, you know, slapping them, doming them, and taking their work to cripple them to eventually get up in there. And you know, Homeboy had Bert convinced. Like, at the end of the day, Bert trusted Spike to the fullest. You know, he trusted his palabra, and he still does. As far as I know, nothing has changed, right? But when this got brought up in Pelican Bay, there was an angle that got brought up, which this right here is more so with the question I want to leave everyone, right? And you guys tell me if it don't make more sense. For example, Spike for many years, let's leave all the BS on the side, right? That he was doing. Camaradas wrong, taking from casitas from other pilis, and then acting like nothing. He's been holding a position for Bert for many years. Basically, the pilis know what Spike said, Bert is going to back up. He's just at that stage that he don't have that backbone in him to trust himself. And again, it's age, right? It ain't nothing doing nothing else. But in the Bay, Terco was the one, right, that brought it up and basically said, look, why don't we just make Spike? We'll both make Spike into a carnal with the clause that whatever he's doing on the streets, he has to kick down to Bird. That way we don't have to rely on Bird called this, Bird said this, and at the end of the day we get Spike's answer, period, point blank, right? Which is the question for everyone. Doesn't that make a lot more sense than having a rug camarada? And the funny part is, Emma is real quick to knock heads. But we're talking about 2014, 15, right? And look at how much time has passed. Imagine how many camaradas have walked down that pipeline to end their career, have gotten hurt between, have been doing everything right, setting up casitas, working, taking, moving, whatever, right? And this camarada just for greed. Because the one thing I agree with that individual is the topic was, it wasn't that scandalous, right? Because believe me, they would scream. But let's say that Casita's making 10 bands a week. He was reporting 8 and clipping 2 for himself plus giving a cut, right? But that way he would have to answer up as a carnal, and not minimize Bird. Isn't that more of taking care of your own? I really think all Baileys, you know, should be allowed if you put in your dues, your mind starts playing tricks on you, whatever age, all of them should have that buffer zone to where I can't function. You don't gotta set me down, you don't gotta put me on that list on. And in reality, that's why Bert don't want to sit down. Let's be sincere. We have a lot of proof of that. Look how active Chino was from LF. The minute he got sick and went to a medical facility, what happened? They did what they wanted to do for a long time, right? And sat him down. But anyways, the question is that for everyone to end this, right? Don't you think this should be a retirement plan? Ain't that part of carnalismo, of taking care of your own gente? As well, you guys are gonna say I'm speaking on my butt, right? But I brought it up to a couple pilis. And probably I was speaking on my butt because I wasn't Emmett, right? I was nobody. But for example, we're in a yard as camaradas, you know, let's leave the M out. We see a rug, M member, not M, excuse me, sureño, As Sureños, don't we have a right to other Sureños? And don't you think it should be up as a Sureño Ranfla to knock him down and keep control of that? We had lost meaning, point blank meaning as a movement. We're nothing but dope chasers. You know, we keep getting punked. And sad is not just in the prison system, right? Because we're in there. I was one of them. I sat down and be quiet. But now it's happening on the barrios. You do what I say, but don't you think, at least when it comes to taking care of our own, it should be allowed? Instead of having individuals from a whole new area that maybe don't even see things or don't remember them deciding for you. But again, I'm just speaking on my butt. Before I go, I'll leave that question. Please do get on the comments, and I'm sorry I didn't react to it the way they wanted me to. There's 4 or 5 channels I won't touch on. And again, I know they have a hustle to do. My respects for the hustle, but I don't respect how they do it. And I'd rather just stay far from, right? You guys know I'm on here for a message and what I personally have crossings with. Nothing more, nothing less. I send my love. Like, for example, on this one, they send me, what the he city has Snuffy and Swifty have to do with Bert? It's just, you know, trying to make, is what I always say, then people that are good with their lengua, they think they're smarter than the next man. Pay attention. Everything's out there. It's just, for example, answer me this. If Evan knows Spike's doing all the shady spot, why is he still around? What's the difference between Spike, Bird, and other Pilis and other soldados? I'll tell you what, other Pilis that have things going in La Puente, they could also fool Bird. They're getting over on Bird. And remember, it's a snake's world. Send my love to everyone. Stay true to yourself, loyal to your loved ones.